Frack on, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Frack the Canon. This is what we're talking about. What is Coming to America? Coming to America came out recently. This was Tyler's idea, so Tyler, I'll let you start us off.
Oh, sure. So I think a lot of the new generation of people younger than us don't really understand the historical significance of Coming to America, the first one, and kind of equate Coming to America 2 as just another cheap comedy, and kind of equated one in that regard without even watching one. It's really sad. But I just want to establish that Coming to America is super duper important in cinematic history because it's the first mainstream Black ensemble cast picture ever. And in fact, Paul Anderson was only included in the picture as the manager of the McDonald's parody restaurant by the request of Paramount to Eddie Murphy. Prior to Coming to America, the first one, Black entertainment in cinema was actually segregated from American cinema. Prior to Coming to America, there were movies that were known as blaxploitation pictures, where they would only be released in minority neighborhoods, and not released in wealthier neighborhoods. And Eddie Murphy was he was the biggest comedian at the time. He took it upon himself to produce Coming to America and make a big statement in the public following. And of course, there are many other pictures. And nowadays we know there's like UPN and BET and Oprah Winfrey Network that and people who grew up in the 90s and know of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and other great programming like that. None of that, well, there would have been a picture eventually, but a lot of that is thanks to Eddie Murphy and making Coming to America 1.
All right, so yeah. I want to talk. That's interesting because what about Roots? Like that came out before Coming to America. That was a majority of African Americans. That was also in TV, which is easier, which is TV at everyone's home. You know?
Yeah. I think big budget comedy mainstream pictures is what I mean. Because Roots was an educational piece. Yeah. So thank you for clarifying. Yes, the 80s were a big time for African Americans in the United States in terms of media coming to fruition. But prior to, like you mentioned, Roots, but also movies Coming to America, they were still mostly segregated in cinema. So after The Haunted Mansion came out, which of course we all know, if those of you remember it, was not a great picture and was Eddie Murphy finally deciding time to take a break. That was 15 years ago. If Coming to America 2 came out then, it would have been a lot more appropriate of a time. Now, with it being 30 years later, it's a little past its, I would say, appropriate time for a sequel for a movie. And that, I think, negatively affected its presence in media and Eddie Murphy's performance. So, I don't know, anything else you want to touch on the original before we move on to talk about its sequel?
No, not really. I mean, just because Eddie, I just want to talk about the movie itself because the first one I thought was amazing. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny as hell.
Eddie Murphy is Prince of Zamunda.
Do you think just once I might use the bathroom by myself?
He has everything.
Wait first!
Except what his heart desires most.
I intend to find my bride.
But where can one find a woman suitable for a king?
Queens. A couple rich fellas like you should be in Manhattan.
We're ordinary African students.
That'll be $300.
Coming to America.
It was an original idea about a prince, about a rich man trying to. It was originally like something almost Shakespearean of like, oh, this like rich person trying to hide their true identity to find their true love. I'm like, that's kind of very like comedic.
Prince of the Bible. Yeah.
Kind of Prince of
Similar.
Power in reverse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But the sequel, I just want to talk about the sequel. Like I saw it and I'm like, oh, I was just like, okay, I'm like, oh, when I first see not Wakanda, when we first zoom in and it's not Wakanda, it's Zamunda, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, oh, it felt like a sequel, which was a reboot and a remake, and there was too many storylines. I'm like, wait, what? Like, how did you not know that you had a son? The reasoning for the son to me was stupid. Was
That is not what happened, Father. I remember meeting this morally bereft woman, but there was no inappropriate mating. She offered me some of her ceremonial herbs. And then, if memory serves, a wild boar burst into the room. It came and jumped into my lap, and then it began to ram me, and ram me, and ram me, ramming, and then foul.
the fact that he got drugged and he pretty much got got raped by it. I mean, call it what they call it. He got date raped by Leslie Jones.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not really funny to me at all.
No, it's not.
The story of him falling in love with the barber, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I saw this already in the first one. I would have liked to have seen personally is that it was the daughter, like something, the daughter trying to be the one, something different, like not the son, like the bastard son. The whole thing of it needs to be a male heir. I'm not a white knight, as you all know. I'm not like Captain. Like I'm not that. I'm like, all right, the story's a story. Like you have these streets. Like he's a king now. He can change the law, right? Like that's what was said before. Like he changed the law in the last one by marrying someone who wasn't of royalty. What else? A lot of the jokes I'm like, I don't think they fly. Like I felt that because Lily Jones is a funny person. Tracy Morgan is a funny person. I'm like, this one, I'm like, I don't really care for this at all.
Yeah.
What else? I don't know. Like a lot of the jokes were like, I love seeing I did like the fan service of seeing Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall and those makeups again.
Well, I be damn. Look who done come up in here. Hey, it's Kunta Kinte and Ebola. Famine and Blood Diamond.
Nelson Mandela and Winnie.
Those hungry babies with the flies on their face.
Hey, that's too much. Now you stepped over the line. Now we won't be talking that kind of shit about the hungry babies. You're going to get out my chest.
Politically incorrect. Somebody needs to whip your ass. Get up and whip him, sweet.
Naked again. That was awesome. But I'm like, again, I don't need this. I didn't ask for this. What I would have preferred was a Trading Places 2 sequel. I thought it would have been way better. And it kind of was a little bit because they brought in Duke and Duke again a little bit, like from I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I'm like, I don't really. That was just me. I did not like Coming to America.
No, that's okay. And so I'll come at this with two levels. First, what I thought about it, and then also why I think it could have been done so much better. First and foremost, I have a different opinion of liking it. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily that I liked it. It just exceeded my already low expectation.
Okay.
So, it did some things relatively well in terms of comedy. I thought that did not gel well with the rest of the movie. There were some scenes that were super funny, like in my opinion, the funeral scene with Darth Vader, Mufasa,
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, but he's like, "I'm going to die now."
That was funny.
That was funny.
That to me was just Eddie Murphy showing his star power. Look, I got Morgan Freeman, I got Salt and Pepper, I got In Vogue. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm a kid again from the '90s.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm like, this is like, it was a cool fan service.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I didn't really ask for this. I didn't really want this. But I'm like, you know what? It's on Amazon Prime. I didn't pay for it, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
If I paid for it, I would have been pissed. I'll say that.
And I think actually one of the strongest characters. Another thing I liked was was Wesley Snipes. Yes.
He was the best thing in this whole movie. He was the best thing in the whole movie. I was reading an article about that. That said that they're like, how did you make him so funny? And to which he replied was that I played it straight. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is hilarious.
He's the straight guy in a comedy, where everyone else is ridiculous, including to some extent his child, his son. But before I get into that, I just want to establish one more thing. Another reason why I like Wesley Snipes so much is not only is he the straight guy, but also his scenes felt original. Like the first time you see like his kingdom, where it's like dollying through his like the soldiers training, they're playing like DDR, and they're talking to the kids, and they're like, okay, children, do not play with the sarin gas. And it's like, all right, yeah, more jokes, cool. But aside from his stuff, nothing else really felt original. All the rest of the movie felt like a rehashing of Coming to America with just another skin. And
not even, because even they even brought in jokes. Like one joke that I was like to TJ about this. One joke was that like it was his first bride. She was still barking.
Why have you come here, General?
30 years ago, you left my sister at the altar.
Oh, here we go.
Now look at she.
Imani, always a pleasure.
I'm like, that is hilarious. I told TJ that, and he goes like, that made me laugh. But at the same time, it made me feel sorry for that character, because she's been barking for 30 years.
yeah. But I did like the tie-in, how she was Wesley Snipes' sister.
That was cool. So that was
and
cool.
it's like, okay, if that happened to her, yeah, and that didn't cause you to like want to take over the kingdom of Zamunda, that shows how much you care about women, which was actually a good tie-in too to the end, which, as you mentioned, it was an important coming to age element of Eddie Murphy's character in the movie's daughter. What's his name? Prince.
I don't remember any of their names.
Yeah, the main Eddie Murphy's character, his daughter. So now we get into how to make this movie better. I think it's an important thing to talk about. One of the weakest elements of the movie was his son, in my opinion, because he is like, they established pretty early on, like he's 30 years old and he's never had a job. And then they established kind of why is like he has this pride about him, like when he was interviewing at the bank or something, and he like ripped the guy's like threw off his hide because the guy insulted him or something. And it's like, okay, why do we want to be behind this guy? Like, we have they're not giving us as the audience any reason to like support him. Whereas in the original, we're totally on board with supporting Eddie Murphy's character because his father was so oppressive. Like, you have to do this, this, and this. Whereas his son in this is like, okay, well, you don't have to do anything you want, so you can do whatever you want. And then he kind of takes that on. All right, well, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me. And then, oh, never mind. Okay, I'm gonna take a barber from your country, steal a plane into the United States, and then we're gonna have this quick shotgun wedding for 5 minutes, and that's gonna be it. So fixing his story is super central to fixing the movie.
I don't think you needed that guy. You could have just done it with the daughters and taken them to America. Like, this is like give them like the trial of like have her find a king in Queens. You know, like, you don't even need the son, to be honest, in my opinion. It should have been about the daughters, in my opinion.
Good.
Like, you don't need the son. Like, that was just like, why? Like, you don't need, like, that is the laziest reason to bring him to America. Like, you could have brought the daughters to America. You didn't need the son. That's what really bugged me. Like, and the son could have, and it could have been the sons too. Like, it could have been something from the get-go. It didn't have to be a bastard son. It could have been from them, who was also being like, it could have been a repetition, like we were talking about today, like Cobra Kai. It could have been a repetition of the story, but just switched a little bit. You know, like no, maybe I do want to. Maybe maybe the son was super loyal to the law, and he goes, "You have to think on your own. You have to be and bring him to America because experience different things." You know, so I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
even need to go to America have a bastard son. You could have just had the daughter or make a new son from that marriage to bring that to me like that is the laziest reason. Like, or maybe it was to bring in Tracy Morgan and Leslie Jones, which I feel were grossly underused, in my opinion. Like Leslie Jones was the best thing in Ghostbusters. She is the strongest thing in that movie. Leslie Jones and
Except
Tracy
for
Morgan.
maybe Chris Hemsworth.
All right, and Chris Hemsworth. I'll give you them two are the best thing in Ghostbusters. I hated everything else. Yeah, so like I said, like they kept taking a page from Cobra Kai, make like kind of retold the story with someone else's eye. Like Miyagi is Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso is Miguel. Is what I think.
Yeah. No, that's that you bring up Cobra Kai. That's a really important point. I think the closing statement on Coming to America 2, in my opinion, is you absolutely point nail on the head. I'm surprised I didn't think about it. Thank goodness we did this episode together. Epiphany is it should have been about his daughter wanting to go to America herself, because the last point I had on Coming to America 2 is it's not coming to America, it's coming to Zamunda. The whole movie takes place in Zamunda, except for like 15 minutes of like in front of a sporting stadium at a fake wedding and the rest of the barbershop. And that's not coming to America.
Yeah, there was no reason like it should have been coming to Zamunda or going to Zamunda. Like I was not a fan of that movie. I didn't hate it because Wesley Snipes was the funniest thing in the whole thing. Like Wesley Snipes is to me, him and John Leguizamo are two grossly underrated actors. And my best favorite film of those two is Thank You for Everything, To Wong Fu, Thank You for Everything, Julie Newmar. Like those two are awesome in that movie. I'm like, oh, Wesley Snipes is so awesome. Like he's not just played, he is a great actor.
That was very obscure reference. Yeah, so this brings us to our next conversation. You mentioned Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Cobra Kai is a smash hit that is a sequel series on a movie that came out over 35 years ago. And it raises the question, why is Cobra Kai successful and Coming to America 2 not nearly as successful? And you already kind of said it earlier, but the point is, what Cobra Kai does so well is it introduces new characters and allows them to carry the story. And whereas Coming to America, the entire movie, like I'm having a hard time even thinking of shots without Eddie Murphy in it. Whereas you have entire episodes of Cobra Kai without Daniel LaRusso and without Johnny Lawrence, because those episodes, the series is entirely carried by the Sam and the son of Johnny, whose name escapes me,
Robbie
and Miguel. Robbie, yeah, Sam, Robbie, and Miguel carry the whole story, and we, through them carrying the story, get to learn more about the protagonists and the antagonists from the original Cobra Kai.
But in Coming to America's defense, sorry, let me get you off. And Coming to America's defense was that it's got 2 hours. You know, they really couldn't milk it. And Cobra Kai has a lot of tension between Johnny and Daniel, and they build it up from the get go in season 1. And even from character, like they're a lot more alike than they're different. And they finally get past that in this season. Spoilers. Click up on the link right here. What's it? This one? Yeah. Yeah, the last episode. Once this episode goes out, that Cobra Kai episode would have been up. Check it here. Like and subscribe, please. And that's what that tension that developed, and then they throw in the grenade that is Kreese, you know, and then he adds more tension between all 3 of them. So there's that. Coming to America doesn't really have that at all. It's just kind of like there was even the original movie didn't really have that much of a. It had a basic storyline of a prince comes to America to find his bride. That one, I'm like, this one had no storyline, the new one. And Cobra Kai is about like these kids, these adults who have a rivalry from kids since they were kids, who still haven't gotten over it yet. And there's still some,
Yep.
and there's more to it. There's more layers, like the theme of fatherhood, the theme of redemption, stuff like that. Coming to
Yep.
America didn't really have that.
Yeah, well, the conflict in Coming to America I always felt was between Darth Vader and Eddie Murphy, I'll just
Right.
say. And with you're taking out Darth Vader right away, and they're, it's like Star Wars without Darth Vader.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, nail on the head. I think we've established everything we need to about this Coming to America 2. Didn't need to exist.
No.
And the way to fix it, if it were to press replay again, is take out the son and make the daughter go to America, and make it really about coming to America, and make it all about her trying to change Zamunda. And that's where the secondary conflict was, which in my opinion should have also been the primary conflict. And yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't yet to Frack the Canon.
All right. Is that it? Final thoughts?
My final thoughts kind of just said it, but also South Park has a reference to what we're talking about, the member berries. There's this society and now, or I guess consumerism nowadays is obsessed with reruns and reboots and everything. Some things just don't need to be remade or rebooted. Coming to America is one of those things, in my opinion.
I would second that. I still think I would still want to see Trading Places too, especially now after the whole GameStop stonk stuff.
Yeah,
I want to see that. Give me Trading Places 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for setting this up.
No, dude, thank you. Thank you for coming back. Well, again, thank you for coming, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you same freaking time, same freaking channel. Frack off.